Let me know if you're hearing me okay. And now I see you on video, or you get, yeah, okay, good, thank you. And make sure you have your chat rooms enabled and such so we can always begin the dialogue there and move it to other places. um, so we're just going to get started. I know everyone, I don't know who all comes and who's not, but I'm going to get going. Um, Here's what we're going to cover today. Let me get my recording going. Sorry. Oh, it is going. Wait a second. Pause recording. I guess it's. Do you guys see the little red dot? Is the little red dot? Okay, thank you, Anel. By the way, given that this is week 4, and we're going to be halfway through the course, I want to try and leave a little bit of time in here today for you guys to tell me where you are in the experience in terms of, a lot of people come to this type of a course saying, I want to find a partner. It's been forever. I don't know how so I want to be able to take your temperature on how capable, ready, and confident you feel that can happen. Some of you may be in relationships that are bumpy and wondering if that's the place you need to be. And should you even be looking at it? I just want to take your temperature about what you're getting, if it's helping, and what you think you might need moving forward. Doesn't mean I'm going to give it to you. Just kidding, just kidding. I'm going to try to give it to you in the context of the course. I like people to be able to get somewhere in these processes that's valuable to them, not just valuable to me and what I think is important. So I want to be able to take the temperature as we get through that. But today we're going to, now that we've cleared the decks, and not that clearing is ever complete, unless you're enlightened, I suppose. But in these processes, certainly being able to reference our wounding and the things that have written on the slate of who we are is an important skill to have. None of us can stay there ongoingly for eons because it's just too difficult, and that's not living in my point of view. But we want to touch base on that. I'm going to talk about fertile soil as we move forward into grounding our vision of love today, which should be really fun and enjoyable. And then this is from the book, those of you who have the book in some form. I'm not following the book that closely, but the 3-step inner awareness practice. And then I'm going to talk about purpose and how that plays into love. And we're going to do a purpose practice. And then we're going to talk also about receiving intuitive guidance and different ways we can do that. And we'll touch on personal integrity, and then we'll open it up for that check-in that I referenced momentarily ago. All right, so let's get to it. Here we go. So fertile soil. This is a term. I'm sure other people use it, but I tend to use it a lot with my clients, in that. And it relates to magnetism itself. It relates to abundance. It relates to anything we're trying to create. If we start with this idea that our soil, our energy, that our space is fertile, that we are good receivers, that we have created conditions that make it palatable, interesting, and vital, that we begin to attract because of the nature of our soil. And I know this graphic up here with someone planting the little seedlings into the ground, it's not the best photo, but when it's enlarged, but you look at that deep, rich soil, the dark richness of that soil, and how those little plants are coming up so beautifully. And so I love this analogy for that purpose, that if we tend to our soil, that is 95% of it, maybe 95, given various things. But if our soil, if our energy, if our receptivity is in good standing, we're not going to have any issue attracting a partner or anything else. And then from fertile soil, you can set an intention. You can say, I want this, that, or the other, and it will come in. It just will. It's just how it works. Just as these plants, beautiful, rich, dark soil, put the thing in the ground, boom, it's going to grow. Next, and so much of today's offering is about honoring and being present with your feelings. And I don't mean in a self-indulgent way. I mean as using them as a barometer that we can take stock. My system is telling me this. How do I respond to what my system is telling me? Because so often, especially when it comes to love or relationships or even jobs, we think that if we go get that relationship or that position or that pile of money, whatever it is, we're going to feel better. And it's like anything else external. Yeah, we can calm down momentarily, but it doesn't solve what our system is telling us we need until we learn to give that to ourselves. And we'll talk more about that. And then learning how to exclude the mind. So many of you in this group, I know many of you well, and you're smart. You're super smart, which is a gift and a talent. Congratulations. But often when you get to a point in your life when relationship struggles or lack of relationship becomes your experience, your mind is often the culprit. It's often the thing that is getting in the way. And so learning how to unplug from that is really important. So these are elements that go into the fertile soil, and I wanted to put that out there before we start with the vision of love, fulfilled, finding, grounding a vision of love. Yay. I mean, that just sounds fun. That's why I put this happy face graphic. It should be fun. And I think as we, and we'll talk about this in other lessons, but we want to come to love with our divine feminine or our divine masculine and have it be a happy thing. And I know certainly in a class, we're paying attention and we want to get all the things and have the formula and we're going to follow the formula exactly. And which is good. Thank you. I'm going to try and give you good stuff and keep doing that. But we want to be happy about it. It should be a fun thing. We should be, this is cool. I get to think about love. I get to think about connection and what that's going to feel like. And we want to give ourselves to that today. So I want to touch on a couple things here. First, and this is also an abundance principle, but it applies here as well. Be mindful of allowing limiting ideas to shape your view. There is a story, I won't repeat the entire story, but it has to do with a devotee of a spiritual master always wanting to have a car come to him in his experience. You know, I just want a car. Just give me a Volkswagen Bug. Just give me something. And he gets to heaven and he's like, why didn't you ever give me what I was asking for? And God's like, well, I was trying to give you a Rolls Royce. I was trying to give you a Bentley. I'm trying, but your vision is so narrow, it excluded the abundance I was trying to give to you. And so sometimes in relationships, and maybe some of you have seen this, I've certainly seen it in my life, I just want somebody to love me. I just want just anybody, you know, just accept me as I am or whatever. And then you end up getting someone who gives you crumbs and you spend an inordinate amount of time trying to get that person to stop giving you crumbs. So as we set intention today to bring that next soul partner in, we're going to define traits perhaps, but we want to think open-ended, open box, open, that yeah, we have an idea what we want it to feel like, look like, but let's not have a period at the end of it and say this or something even better than what my mind can comprehend in this moment. And, you know, because I think we come from more of a fear place about, well, you know, I'm overweight, so I can't have somebody who's they have to be overweight too. Or, you know, I'm 47, so I can't be with someone who's 32 because, or vice versa. I can't be with someone who's 65 because I don't want to be taking care. You know, we start with all the qualifiers and discriminating language. So that's what I mean about let's disconnect the mind. You're allowed to and should have preferences. You should have those in your experience, and it's okay. But when we're focusing on actually getting our needs met, some of us don't know how to do that for all kinds of reasons. And so be mindful of allowing limiting ideas to shape your view. And again, so much of this is the focus is on trusting yourself and honoring how you feel. You know, and I think often when we get into a relationship or a situation, and we're relational with that person and we don't want that relationship to go away, we don't focus enough on our inner navigation telling us alert, alert, pull back, slow down, because we think we're doing something wrong, or we're not allowed to pull back now, or we haven't gotten close enough to resolving or upgrading that wound to being less charged, that it's still driving our decisions. So just remember that the name of the game is focus on trusting yourself. And if you haven't been good at that, or have only been good at it in certain areas of your life, that's something you're going to want to get good at, because it is everything when it comes to interacting with the who you desire out in the world. And then being able to allow your inner navigation to direct your choices. You know, and I know Barry is in here as well, but, and we'll touch on the divine masculine, of course, but so many of us accommodate, and we feel like we have to take care of that. I saw a thing on TikTok last week. I see all these different, some of these people are unbelievable, they're young. And I'm like, you know, you come into the planet at a time when consciousness it has expanded from when I came here, and they know what I know, and they're like a third my age. It's kind of remarkable. But this TikTok thing came across, and the person said, if you have a choice of honoring yourself or honoring someone else, honor yourself. And we're going to talk about if that's selfish or if that's not selfish next week. But we have to be able to put ourselves first, essentially. And sometimes those choices are difficult, especially if you care about someone. You know, you feel that attachment breaking. All right, so let's see, Elizabeth, the limiting thing and trusting instinct piece is my big block. Well, we're going to tear some of that down today. We're going to give you some tools and, you know, help you break that apart. And the soil does look good. Okay. Thanks, Melody. That was a good. All right, so here we're going to go. We're going to start into it. What does love fulfilled look like in my life? So let's get to it. And I'm going to start with a little exercise from the book. So everybody just go ahead and close your eyes for a moment. We're not going full on to meditation here, but, you know, just get centered, pull your energy in, put your energy behind your eyes, or your attention behind your eyes. And just take a few moments to watch your breath so that you can be inside of yourself in that place where you feel centered. And so when you feel centered and quiet, meaning your inner chatter, ask the question to yourself, or you can say it out loud if you're muted, but what does the fulfillment of love look like in my life? And I want you to sit quietly in the question. You know, in prayer and talking to God, or in meditation when we're listening to God, sit in listening. and wait to hear a response. Maybe it will come as an image, maybe it will come as language, maybe someone you know will pop up and be saying something to you from a conversation you had. You never know. Don't judge it. Maybe you'll be inspired by a song or a poem you remember. And as you connect to what the fulfillment of love looks like in your life, maybe you'll feel emotional, maybe you'll feel peaceful, maybe you may feel any number of things. Maybe you'll see an image or a symbol. Just listen, observe without judging what comes to you. So I'm going to be quiet just for a few seconds here while you guys do that. Now, some of you may or may not be able to do this. If you are in the category that you can't imagine it, I would also say to that, then see yourself being connected to yourself, see yourself having a greater wisdom and connection to yourself, and to be able to honor that process of becoming or evolving into fulfillment. Because if you can't see it on the other end, if you are connected to yourself and honoring that process with an intention to draw love in, it'll still happen. Okay, so if that's not enough, you can stay with it. But I'd love to hear what it looks like. Let's hear it. Let's hear what you guys are coming up with. Oh my God, I can't wait. Yay! I want to hear people's love story playing out. You can chat me too if you don't want to unmute.
I had a weird it's Elizabeth.
You had what? A weird what?
You hear me?
Yeah. Hi.
I sort of I did what you said. I said the thing out loud and then I just waited. And I had an image of being on the beach, um, and then on a mountaintop, and just a lot of laughter, and being in places that it's that are sort of exotic or fun or adventurous to get to.
Sounds like you, exotic, fun, and adventurous.
But that's it. That's all I had. That's what came up.
Um, so let me ask you, are you able to connect to a feeling of what it might feel like when you have that partner in your life? I mean, exotic and beautiful and fun, those are all can be, but anything like safety or honor or um,
Yeah,
contentment.
it felt like a friendship that was also charged with like a sexual energy that was really fun, but a very trusting um, camaraderie, sort of partners in crime feeling.
Okay, so you secretly want to be a criminal. All right, I got it. Okay. So, but let me ask you one more piece because it's a little bit important. Is there something from your world, a way in which your slate has been written on that, we don't want anyone to be responsible for our inner work. But say, for instance, in my world, safety and patience is super important. So, and I know that when I have a partner, I need those two things. And that's because of my life. My experience has caused those things to be relevant. Can you track for yourself those types of needs?
Safety?
I don't know, if safety is one, or that the way your life has evolved and who you've become, that you're going to do better in a situation when it has X, Y, or Z elements.
Well, I think I understand your question. So I'm looking back through my history to see am I connecting it to the vision that I had during the meditation, or?
No, I'm just poking at you right now, because I think, we often think only of the fun, exotic, interesting things, and we want those too, for sure. But when we're looking for the soul connection to really elevate us, I think if we know, like I made the example, I know I need safety, emotional safety, I know I need patience, then I kind of put that out there with everything else. So, and I don't know a lot about your history, but certainly you do. And you know why you've turned out the way you do to some degree. And so if your partner is going to be able to meet your needs in totality, will they be able to meet those? It's not wounded, but it's like, well, this is who I am because of my life. And if you can press that button at the same time, the exotic and the fun and the camaraderie comes in, wow.
Okay, I see.
So if you don't have an answer, that's fine. But I was saying it also to everybody else.
Yeah, I understand that safety, emotional safety and constancy and stable, predictable, trustworthy.
Good. Great. Thank you very much. Let's see. Let's see what's in here. Um, Bhavia, I actually remembered my first husband and how he made me feel completely loved and adored and cared for. And also another lover where we had really deep connected sex and a lot of tenderness. Um, and Bhavia, what would be interesting to me on that um, is I think it's really worthwhile to have templates that we start with and then add on to that. So I am curious if you had any add-ons, since clearly those relationships are in the rearview mirror. It's like, is there any add-ons to that? Deja, I had a feeling of supreme comfort and ease and care, someone who is very easy to be with. Interesting. Um, and I'm curious, Deja, when I look at yours, I'm wondering about, is that person meeting your needs? Because you're pretty darn easy to be with. So do you have more than that? Is there more? And that's just me wanting you to have more.
There's a lot more, but that is the first feeling that I got that is a non-negotiable. That I feel I'm a very peaceful, calm person, and I would need that peace and calm to complement, that my partner would have that same calmness, that it would be so easy to be myself with him.
Okay.
So there's a lot more qualities, yes, but one of the first that would allow him to come in the door is
Okay.
that there is no drama, we can communicate well, and that it's easy to be me around him.
Good. Okay. I like it. I like it, and I don't have to like it, by the way. It's not up to me. I'm super curious if, um, I guess I'm curious if you feel like you have permission to ask for everything you need, or if not, like to ask not only comfort, easy, and care, but beyond
everything
that,
else.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So keep playing with that and really revel in the feelings. So thank you, love. Claudia, I felt totally immersed in acceptance of and delight in who I truly am, allowing me the freedom to not be on guard and let down my walls. Felt joy and abandon in the absence of judgment. Nice. Anil, I stood in a circle of people holding hands. I felt love and kindness. Then I looked to the left to see whose hand I was holding, and it was this older man with gray hair and a face of tender kindness. Nice. Really beautiful. Sonia, someone who is nurturing, kind, loyal, masculine, strong, and a protector. I feel safe and loved when I'm with him. Barry, living in total grace and acceptance. Barry, say more about that. What does that look like in a day-to-day?
Well, it's actually more of a feeling, just having somebody there and knowing that they're supposed to be there, and you're both pulling in the right direction, and it's self-supporting. It's just this sphere of living in love and grace and intimacy, and so it's very. Actually can be anywhere. So it's just kind of finding a home with somebody.
Yeah, I like that. And the reason I had asked you is because it's such a spiritual, expanded point of view about relationship. And you are a human still.
Uh-huh.
Is there room for you to be human in there?
Well, you got to have a crazy ass sense of humor.
Well, I don't mean humor, human, because we're all flawed. We're all effed up. Level.
Well, I mean, on the temporal level, you got to have, or at least be able to accept mine.
Well, and sort of the dance, and this is not just for you, but I know I get a lot of questions about who's my soulmate, where's my twin flame, blah, blah, blah. And depending on what your palette is and what your demeanor is, you don't want a lot of conflict or chaos, but just because you have some of that doesn't mean that's not your partner. So
there is kind of a thought I've had is once you start loving yourself and you project that, so many people come into your life because you are that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, like, I have a soulmate that is totally politically different and she's married.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have other people that I call part of my tribe, which you just feel so much, it's seemingly more connected to initially.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many people that I love dearly, but I couldn't live with.
Right. Well,
so I think it takes, there in this lifetime, just being able to be with somebody for a period of time with love, grace, and acceptance is really the key to whatever, and I don't know necessarily what it looks like yet, I guess.
yeah.
But I know that there's, I don't know that there's just one. I certainly would be nice. I would take one, right? Shouldn't say take one, but that's
You can write it however you want. You're right. That's the beauty of it. There can be 1 or 4 or 12 or 18. It really doesn't matter. It's what works for where your vibration is, where your state of being is. And
but somebody that can meet me right here, right now, and knowing that we're going to be going in the same direction in life, physically and spiritually and intimately. That's really what's most important.
Mhm. Well, and it's interesting that sometimes opposites and people who don't have things in common with us make really good partners. You might find it surprising that I tend to not like to be with people who are spiritually minded. I find it much more, because this is my work, but I find it much more interesting someone who isn't walking this path. I mean, no one would ever expect that, and so I can say that the differences sometimes make it interesting as well. But I don't want to live in chaos, so I like the grace and acceptance. So I just wanted to make sure you were giving yourself room, and it sounds like you are.
Yeah, I know that I'll be truly amazed at person or persons to be named.
Yeah.
But for me to be able to accept somebody exactly where they're at and somebody to do that back at me to create then a mutual journey is really what I'm looking for.
And you're very clear on it. I think that's awesome. Thank you, Barry. Wendy, playful, safe, flow, and aligned with the other person. Okay, good. And Wendy, for you, I just want to make sure that feels tangible to you. Sometimes in these texts, I can't quite tell, that we actually feel it. And Mary, I am very practical. So, whoops. Let me go back here. So what was surprising is I thought of this one relationship, not the right one, but so sexy and fun. Oh my gosh, safety and reliability are super important, but maybe I'm ready for some fun too. I love that. That's a great awareness. And that speaks to that we have a process. And sometimes we have these ideas of the person I need is this, based upon who I've been or what I think culture tells me it should be, but then you're recognizing a need inside of you or something that you haven't given, breath to. So I would encourage you to follow that. Imelda says, what came to me was an image of my hike this morning, like sunshine after the rain with clear skies. The view was amazing and there was a sense of peace and knowing. And again, Imelda, you have marriage written all over you. So that feels like a marriage dream. So good for you. Cheryl, I share it a little scattered. I'll share. Okay, share it.
Yeah, sorry, because I'm too lazy to type. So what I see, and it's happened before, and it's like the same thing. So I don't know if it's like a movie repeating, but I always go up to a door. I'm pulling in a driveway, and then the door opens, and it's always this big, burly kind of guy. And my daughter's there, and there's always like a kid, which I know looking at him, it's my grandchild. And then the way they're looking at me, it's just like, oh my God, I'm so like, oh my God, and I cry, full of love and blessed, right? So then I go inside, and then it kind of jumps to something else. Then I'm in the kitchen, and the guy always comes up and he puts his arms like from behind me. And you know that connection when you're like, you lose the world and everything, it's just you two, and oh my God, and I start crying. And then it goes to where we're walking, and it's outside by leaves and stuff because I love the trees. And then that connection is so deep. But anyways, that's all. I'm sorry, I don't even know why I'm crying.
All right.
But it's
Don't
so
apologize.
deep.
And
Yeah.
any woman in this group, you better not apologize.
Okay.
Upset. I'm going to come after you. Do not apologize. It's beautiful.
Oh,
And it's letting us see what really matters to you, that you want that deep emotional connection, and you express that through physicality in some way. Or
yeah.
when you allow someone to come up behind you, that's such a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about, I want vulnerability and I want connection and I want to feel that vulnerable. So that's really good.
Yeah. Thank
And I
you.
hope that you will see that as a positive,
Oh, I
that
do.
vulnerability, not as I have to be afraid of that.
Oh, no, no.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bobia is probably answering my question. Yes, of course, there were aspects, but not the whole story. My first husband filled a deep hole in me with his love, but I missed a lot as well. My mind and my creativity, curiosity weren't met. So I'll add that I'll request someone who can meet me there too and can also, perfect, love it, add-ons. They work really well too, because we have that template and a fresh recollection in our cellular memory. Joanne, hands embracing me and feeling safe. Good. And so on the personal work end, I would be making sure I am attending to those own parts of me that haven't felt safe or felt like there was permission to speak your voice or your truth or ask for what you need. But it also sounds like you, like Cheryl, you want that physicality and safety and comfort. And then maybe there's more in there too, Joanne. So I'd encourage you to keep playing with that some more. And Melody says, it's beautiful, Cheryl, you're beautiful. I adore and love you so much. Can't wait for the man to see what we all see and to love you. Yes, that's nice. Okay, good. Next. Now, and this is a little bit why I was picking at some of you, pokey, pokey, poke, because what would I have to give up or release in order to manifest this vision reality? So in my world, you know, my safety place has always been work. I love to work. I love moving energy. Back in the day, it was no big deal for me to work 7 days a week. I could care less. I love it. I feel good. I'm confident. It's happy. It's fun, blah, blah, blah. If I wanted a relationship, I got to make time for it. And that's usually the number one complaint I hear. Here's not, you know, when do I get to see you? When is there enough time? Blah, blah, blah. So that continues to be something I work on. So that's an example, is that I have to give up being overly busy, always in control, always having, you know, I have to be able to be vulnerable. And if I want that to happen, I have to let vulnerability be. So now, and as you can see, I gave an example down there, and that was in the book. So I'm going to give up drinking or get into a recovery, or I'm going to forgive someone. But we got to dive in and say, okay, what am I going to let go of, or that I can allow my vision to become? So let's go back inside. Close your eyes again. And just go back, but, you know, put your attention behind your eyes, stop the chatter. I'll shut up in a moment, and ask yourself, what would I have to give up or release in order to manifest this vision? And again, this could be images, feelings, thoughts, anything that comes to you. And when you feel you have that awareness or some ideas, you can start chatting or unmute yourself. Oh, Janice, Believing that my way is always the best. Oh. Okay. And how are you going to do that? I'm curious to know the next step with that. How are you going to do that?
That's
Yeah.
a good question. I think it's fair to say I've got control issues, but control has kind of, it has given me a level of sense of safety, but it's irritating for men, even though I am right. So I, I just, he knows it, I know it, but still. But I always think about this thing Dr. Phil said a few years ago. It's true. Dr. Phil said, and I don't watch Dr. Phil, but this was one statement he made that resonated for me. He said, if you've got 80% going well of what you want in a relationship, then you're really in a great space. It's never going to be 100%. So just kind of recognizing that and checking out and analyzing my own thoughts and reactions to things to try to be more objective, I suppose.
Well, and I would say that the idea of control is an illusion, and that I would be looking at what you think control actually gives you, because it actually, I would say it's a fear. And this idea that one has to be right, even if you are, so you're smarter than everybody in the room, okay, good for you. But we don't always have to make a point of it. And so there's obviously a fear in there that I would encourage you to look at, because if you solve that, you're not going to care about being in control, because first of all, you're not going to attract someone that you need to protect yourself from. And it also inhibits that ability for love to come in. So I'd be drilling that down a little bit more and getting real with yourself. And I think that's what I mean about what your next step is about that. And you may have the best way, and certainly probably because I do this work, some people want to hear what I have to say, some people don't. Some people can hear half of what I say, and I'm not saying I'm always right, but I'm going to advocate for my person. They can take part of it, but everybody has their own journey, and they have to get to their own answers or information in a way that they can take it in and meet you at some level of authenticity. So that ability, but clearly you're going to need somebody who's super smart. I mean, maybe, so they can keep pace with you. But I think you're looking for more of that heart connection. And so you'll have to somehow tame your brain, which is what we talked about at the beginning. How can I disconnect my brilliant mind so that I can let my heart receive love? And so being able to let people be where they are and recognize that's not a flaw. That's a generosity we give to our partner to let them have their process, if they are meeting you on those other 80%, like you said, Dr. Phil said. So yeah, I'd encourage
that. And ultimately that requires some patience, and that's something I'm not good at, but I'm aware.
And again, thank you, because lack of patience, usually underneath that at the core is self-criticism. So I'd encourage you to look at the ways you are hard on yourself and the way criticize your own actions, because impatience that's usually a me thing. And then we project that outwardly. Just saying. May not be true for you, but it's what I've noticed over the years. Sonia. And your point again, Janice, believing that my way is always the best way.
Of that.
Maybe it doesn't matter. I think my way is always the best. Well, no, not always. Gonna make my point, but yeah.
And it's not good for the male ego.
Well, I have to tell you, I don't want to get too far off the point, but I have this YouTube channel which is doing amazingly well. Any practitioners out there who want to boost your business, but I have people, all kinds of comments going crazy for all different reasons. and people who don't like what I say, and people who love it. And it's been a really good exercise for me when I respond to some of these comments to let people have their point of view about whatever it is. And I don't have to try and convince them that my point of view is right. And so it's a really good exercise. And
Yeah,
letting people be where they are, and it's okay. They're where they are, and I'm where I am.
right,
Okay.
thanks.
Sonia, control and thinking I'm wounded. Well, and of course, we're all wounded in some way, but and control. And I'm sure some of those things I said to Janice are applicable to you, that there isn't anything we can control anyhow, you know, nothing except maybe what I put in my mouth this morning for breakfast. That's about it, maybe. Anel, the idea that I would have to give up my freedom and have to figure out how to meet him. Oh, so you're going to give up that idea that it's a, you know, and there certainly is, when you go into a relationship of any sort, you do have to give. There's no way. Both people have to give to each other. So I would be looking at that core wounding about, you know, you probably over accommodated, overgave in the past, and it wrote on the slate of what you think relationships have to be. And I have to figure out how to meet him. Yeah, are you talking about physically?
Mhm,
Oh, okay. And are you opposed to online dating?
mhm.
Okay.
I live on Whidbey Island, you know.
So, and why are you opposed to it? And you can be opposed to it. I'm just curious.
Um, I just don't feel comfortable with the process of seeing a picture and trying to relate to someone through some, you know, texting back and forth or whatever. And then I think my experiences, I could think about it, my experiences with, I've done dating services in the past, and every person I met, I never met anybody that I dated through those. And I've been through maybe 15, 20 people. So
Well,
I don't have a good experience with that. I would go there and I think, oh, you know, they're going to find, I felt like it was pretty good. And then they didn't call or whatever.
well, look at, there's a whole lot in there, what you just said,
Mhm.
and we'll get to it at some point here. But I think online dating has changed a lot, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. And especially with COVID, I think you're seeing people out there who are different than the past people, because there aren't a lot of other alternatives. And when you change your energy and perhaps have some different skills or tools about how you put yourself out there, you can find a different result. And I would just like you to, I'm not going to tell you you have to do it. I would just ask you to open your mind to the idea that there can be a different outcome than what you've experienced.
Mm.
And just sit with that. You don't have to do anything about it. But I think we don't want to have hard no's in our space, because for all you know, you could hop onto a dating site tomorrow and that person could be your person. You could go through 40 people and it'll just be, but it's number 41 that's your person for whatever reason. So I just want you to kind of open to the idea, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in greater detail at some point. Elizabeth, fear and control. Okay, and again, as with others, there's no such thing as control. And the fear, you want to always look at that in your body, you know, sense it in my body. Where is that? And lean into that so you can get your arms around it. And that was sort of why I talked about the safety piece. When you're looking, you know, I'm going to have to go slow. You know, there's parts of me that can go really fast, but this part over here really needs it to go slow because I'm afraid. So this is about being connected to yourself and honoring your signals. Joanne, release any fear and begin to trust. Well, sometimes it's a joint journey, whether that's with a partner or whether it's with a therapist, but it's easier said than done. We do have to move through it with presence and, be with it. We need to be with ourselves with it. It's not something we take off like our shirt at the end of the day. It's like, okay, I've got to embrace the things that cause the fear to happen. And then through that, I will trust myself, because usually trust issues are with ourselves. I don't trust myself to make a good decision. I don't trust. Not that it doesn't extend to others at times, but we really want to dig in there and put our arms around those things that brought us to this place. That was sort of what week 2 and 3 were about. Not that we completely solve it, but if we can continue to honor it and see that it's having a voice in our process, we can deal with that voice, and should. And we want to embrace it. Don't see it as a negative. See, it's part of our story. It's part of who we are, and we want to embrace it. Barry, so much TV and clutter. Oh, all right. Yeah, start moving that stuff. That would be a biggie. Absolutely. Move energy. Mary, fear, doubts, letting go of feeling less than. And that's really remarkable, because you are one of the most more than people I know. I mean, you're stacked with more than. So, and I know you're doing your work. And I would just say to some of these comments, let's make sure we have an action plan with this. How are we going to go about that? How are we going to do that? So using this suggestion at the bottom of the screen, I'll give up drinking and get into recovery. I'll forgive the person, let's put it into motion. Melody, yep, there's no way we can please everyone. Yeah. Claudia, release attachments to things, let go of fear, and move toward trust. Well, and again, how are we going to do that? I'm glad you have the awareness, but how are we going to do it now? What's our step 1? Sonia, it has changed a lot. I've met some great guys through there. I'm attracting different people each year. The more I heal, fascinating. And that's how it should go. As you change and shift your vibration, you're going to attract different people. That's just how it is. Melody, I'll share verbally. Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who has shared vulnerably. And for me, I wanted to share kind of an experience this past week has been very eye-opening, heart-opening, and mind-opening. And I give credit. At first, I was like, I blame Phyllis's class, but it's give credit. Definitely give credit to Phyllis's class. As I saw all of these kind of injuries or wounds that were surfacing out of nowhere, although I don't believe in randomness or coincidence, right? And so I put them together, and I even consulted with some of my friends here too, and realized, oh wow, this is really giving me an opportunity to clear the weird relationships that suddenly surfaced, that allowed me to reassess, and then to let go of what's not serving me. It's to make room, right? This is all about the making room for new energy, new relationships, new love. So it was just fascinating to see all of these opportunities arise for these teachings to happen. So I just wanted to share that. It wasn't necessarily to answer a question per se, but just things that, I guess, to embrace all of those, right? All of those injuries or wounds and scars have made us who we are today. And so to let go of the guilt and the shame and all of that, and just to embrace all of it, because that's, those things had to happen for us to get to where we are. That's all.
Beautiful. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you. Thank you, Melody.
Thank you. Thank you for this course and the opportunity.
Of course. Yeah, let's take our break now before we go into the last of the 3 steps. I'm going to head to the bathroom, and you guys can do that as well. Okay. Okay, kids. Hello. Happy break time. End of break time. Elizabeth, I've had a similar experience as Melody described. People with whom I've had some connection coming in suddenly over the last few weeks. I've been slow to act on invitations to casually hang out, just noticing my response. One guy's 20 years older than I am, and perhaps my last romantic experience was with someone 23 years my senior. We're still close, but not my life partner. I have not accepted his invitation to come see his etchings. LOL, that's actually very close to the truth. Am I closing myself off or just using discernment? I would just sit with it some more. I would give yourself the space to determine that. I know you've thrown out some numbers there in your sharing, but it may have nothing to do with the numbers. And I think that's what you want to get to. So just give yourself the space to figure that out, and let your inner navigation drive you or turn you. You don't have to make a decision until you know what feels right. And I know we started this with saying, oh, this should be fun. And, it is fun to think about the possibilities and to put the energy into the future time to say, this is what I envision for myself, or some version of this that's close to this. But getting close to ourselves, even those moments that are uncomfortable, when we are connected to ourselves, even if there is sadness, even if there is self-criticism, even if there's whatever we find at the bottom of that avoidance we've been doing, it feels really good to be with ourselves and to know our truth. And I think we do spend a lot of time avoiding that because, for whatever reason, many. So yes, we're having fun here, and we should, but fun is also being with yourself, because that's where we get clarity and we know our next steps. And I think, Elizabeth, you made that point so clearly. Just give yourself the space and the time to be with what your confusion is until it makes sense to you. Because it will. It always does. All right, third step. Now, with that second step, we were, what am I giving up? And this step is, what is it I would have to embody or become in order to manifest this vision or reality? So take a minute. If you close your eyes again, just put your energy behind your eyes so you can be centered, and think about, what is it I would have to embody or become in order to manifest this vision? Some of the examples: you may need to allow someone to do you a favor. Some of us don't ever let anybody help us. You may need to become more vulnerable, learn how to be more emotionally accessible. And we hide in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to be quiet momentarily while you sit with that. Okay, so whenever you're ready, you can unmute, or you can chat me up.
Hi, Phyllis.
Hey, who? Oh, Sonia. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, to be able to receive, I have a hard time receiving in relationships, and also I started to type to think with my heart. Well, I'm like, no, there's me thinking again. I have to be able to feel with my heart instead of thinking with my mind and overanalyzing.
Yes. So is that something that are there some actions you can take to do that? Or how are you going to do that? Because as you see in the graphic here, the question is, what can you do to move toward this awareness
Yeah.
on a daily basis? Is it something you can consider?
Yeah. Like for example, during the break, a friend offered to send her daughter to deliver dinner for me today, or I could go over to her house. And my initial instinct would be like, no, it's okay. I don't want you to get sick. But then I thought, well, it's okay if her daughter drops it off at my doorstep. Um, you know, so just even receiving little things like that,
Mhm.
that's a daily thing. And then as far as feeling more, really be consistent with meditating every day.
Oh,
Yeah.
so when you meditate, you find that you're able to stay out of your head more?
It takes me a while to stop the monkey chatter, but then after a while, then I can. But the trick is for me not to fall asleep.
Keep it short.
Yeah.
You got to be an efficient meditator. Yeah. Okay, good. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's see. Melody says, continue to being open-minded and open-hearted to all experiences and seeing them as positive opportunities and teachings. Well, yeah, that is what we try to do, to stay open, and even those things, and that's kind of what I said at the beginning of after the break, is even if we're recognizing a wound or something from the past that has been hard, the fact that we can connect to ourselves and put our arms around ourselves and be compassionate for that is such a beautiful thing. And so even though it may not feel fantastic, there is the other side that, well, there is beauty in this moment. And we usually feel ourselves, that connectedness that reoccurs when we disconnect because it didn't feel good to begin with. It's really lovely. And so, Melody, I would ask you the same thing I did Sonia. What is there something you can do, an action or a practice to move toward this awareness daily? And
For me,
yeah.
I mean, with Phyllis, actually, the reading that we had January 2020, your words guided me to take this this class. It was like you had
Wow.
shared with me and guided me then, saying, cast your net wider, have some fun, step outside of your comfort zone, be more playful, like Wendy had said.
Sounds like me.
Yeah. And then also just being a mental health professional, I've always been very protective of my private and personal information. So balancing vulnerability, and so that I'm welcoming authenticity too. So there's that piece. It's a work in progress.
So if I'm hearing it correctly, it sounds like you're doing a good job of being present with yourself. And so maybe there isn't an action that you need to take, rather just continue to be present with yourself.
I would say so, yeah. Just continue to challenge myself that way, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, and not just to you, Melody, but sort of the point, I mean, in my work, I always love to marry a concept with a physical action. There's something about that that solidifies it in a way. But if what you have feels like it will work for you, I think that's the most important thing. That we keep moving in that direction of something that we see is important to our expansion as an individual. Because as we want to attract a more expansive partner, meaning they meet more of our needs. It meets where we are in our lives. We have to also meet ourselves at a higher level where we are. Wendy says, playfulness, drop the seriousness. Okay. How are you going to do that, Wendy? You can type or come on screen, whatever you like. How are you going to do that? I'm just curious what the idea is, how we're going to move toward that. You know, my work tends to be pretty serious. You know, I like to have a good time. I love comedians. You will be hard pressed to see me watching a Grey's Anatomy or a Law and Order or Special Victims Unit. Hell no. I want somebody who's going to crack me up. So, you know,
That's exactly what I do also. I watch a lot of comedy, and there's certain people I gravitate to that are absolutely funny. In real life, though, they can take whatever is bothering them and turn it into something that's actually vulnerable and funny at the same time. And I think we need to all do that, you know. Instead of being
So-
serious about it, let's have some fun with it.
so it sounds like you've got playfulness happening.
Yes.
So how are you being
Yeah.
serious? I'm not following that. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm a serious person. So I've always I don't know, for the last 20 years, I'm trying to be and bring the more playfulness into everything I do.
Good. And I would say, especially those who want to date. I think a lot of times
Yeah.
women, I'm not saying you, but they go out there and they write these profiles. I don't want this. I don't want that. I need this. You better have that. And it's rather than, hey, I'd like to know you. Let's have some fun. And it doesn't mean,
Yeah.
and I think when we go out with that, and I'm sorry to exclude Barry from this particular process because it's women to men, but when we really represent that playful side, often the masculine can identify with that more. They feel it's a vibration they can come in on, and they're much more likely to connect with us. But if we come in on this really, you know, this is serious business and you better take it seriously and you better be trustworthy. Men are like, oh, holy crap, can I do that? So anyhow, just saying, you're on to something.
No, that's a to-do list. Yeah, no.
But it's all
We
part
need
of
to,
the
we
same.
need to have some fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's see, Bhavya, I just need to get out and allow myself to be vulnerable, accessible, and less aloof. Are you aloof? I never experienced that from you. How are you going to do that? I mean, how do you mean aloof? What do you do? I've never noticed that about you. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to stop doing that? Is it just by getting out and social? I mean, what does that look like?
I think, just being softer, allowing people to impact me and showing that. I think I put like up a very kind of like, yeah, fun, duh, but there's like a wall you don't cross. And people sooner or later realize that. Yeah.
And what is that wall?
Just some deep trauma, I think.
Oh, just some little deep trauma, just a variety, deep trauma. Okay. So, I mean, so you know this, but I'll say it for everybody, just it's helpful to hear. You kind of want to lean into a little bit like we did in week 2 and 3. If it's holding you back, let's lean into it and just elevate it enough. But it sounds like you're feeling like you've moved it enough that you're ready to be open more. Are you? It was a big question mark.
I think things are coming up. For example, I just had like betrayal stare in my face just yesterday, and I was like, perfect, and I was
Love me some betrayal.
To be worked through, to be let go of, and I'm actually getting more of an appetite where I go like, I want to, have something to share and have fun, and I'm, I think something is really moving. Thank you, Phyllis.
Of course. And I just think in general, as the energy starts to move, we can let in and not let in. We get to set paces. We get to say, well, I may not be able to share everything, but I can share this much. I may be able to do this, but I can't do that. We're allowed to go at paces that we can tolerate. And then it picks up speed after we trust ourselves and feel more confident. Melody, thank you, Phyllis. You're welcome. Imelda, receiving, knowing I deserve to have the best to self-confidence. And how are you going to do that, Imelda?
So I've been working on receiving, and then when it comes to knowing that I deserve the best, I give a lot. So when it comes to giving, I'll give someone like the best piece of the cake or whatever, the best of the, I'll take the crumbs and you can have this whole slice, just starting with those little things like, okay, maybe I want to save this piece for myself, or we can split it in half, or starting with those little things and not just giving away the best piece. And then self-confidence, I've been working on using affirmations just to affirm that I am worthy, I'm smart, I am enough, and whatever I feel I need that day.
Good. Well, and I think that whole cake analogy is fantastic. And I think that they do go together. The more we can give to ourselves, the confidence automatically rises. So awesome. Good. Thank you. Mary, I need to become vulnerable when people ask me how I'm doing. Instead of saying great, I'm more honest in how I am doing. As you know, I'm in recovery, and in meetings or when I am asked to speak, I am more open and emotionally vulnerable in sharing my story. Yeah, I always say, be careful asking me how I feel. That could be a 15-minute response now. No, I think that's really good practice, especially if you haven't, if you've always held it in, and then you'll find that happy medium of, saying, well, you know what, I'm actually freaking terrible today, and I have a headache, and I'm pissed at my brother or sister or whatever it is, and I don't want to work today, to like, you know what, it's been a day, but I'm getting through it. Thank you for asking. So I think you'll find your way with that, and that's fantastic. Nice, Imelda. Yes, Imelda's pretty freaking amazing, as everyone in here is. But good, awesome. All right, let's move on. Okay, now we're going to touch base on purpose, because
Everyone.
oh, somebody has something to say. I'm sorry. No? All right. The point and reason for connecting to our purpose. And this is to the everything's connected. And this is especially for those of you who are powerhouses in your workspace. And because I know this one too well. You can, I'm going to stay over here where it's really comfortable, and I'll just play work, because this is what's I'm good at, and I'm safe, and nobody can hurt me or get me. But purpose itself, it's a way to connect to ourselves in a deeper way. And when we are connected, we shine more brightly and magnetize aligned souls to us. So my relationships were pretty low level vibration until I started doing the work that mattered to me. Now, your purpose doesn't have to be your job, but it has to be part of your experience, because then you activate energies inside of your system that only you have. And so then you're going to attract people to you who you're more aligned, and harmony is simply more likely to occur when you're aligned on that level. And so when I got into living my life purpose, which is really much of this work, my relationships has got a heck of a lot better. So it's not separate. And again, your purpose doesn't have to be your job, but I have a client who was a tech guy, super techie. His job was that, and he did great at it. And you know, but his passion was Argentinian tango. All right. The dude loves, that's how he connects to people. And it's not sexual per se, but it's what rocks his world. And his life just got so much better after he aligned with that. So, or, I mean, that's just that's what I'm talking about here, is that when we activate our purpose in our life, or that thing that just makes us feel like us, we just resonate differently in the world. It's like a beacon, like a lighthouse out in the storm, and your signal is going out in a very different way. So let's just very quickly just go over some of, let's do the purpose practice. That's what we're going to do. We don't have to close our eyes, actually, unless you want to. And this is going to be an assignment that you take home with you. But I want you to just do a little touch point on it. And it's funny because I use this in my coaching program, that when people are trying to find their way about how am I going to coach, what my business is going to be, it's always, what do I love to do? What comes naturally to me? What do I feel passionate about? The times I've been happiest in my life have been, fill in the blank. People have always told me that I'm good at, fill in the blank. When I was a child, I always wanted to, fill in the blank, until we eventually get to the purpose of my life is, and I am here to bring blank to the world. So if I was to say what my purpose is, and we can have more than one, but my purpose is to be of service. My purpose is to, my purpose is to be of service. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that expresses itself, but that's kind of what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm here to bring, I don't know, I would say support, information, community. I mean, that seems like what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's what I enjoy the most. So that's an example of how you connect the dots. If anyone wants to take a stab at it, we can, but again, this is an assignment. And once you get through the questions at home, I want you to take action, of course, or intentionally align with your purpose in some way. I want you to be able to express it. So, if you were 4 and you just couldn't stop singing or dancing or drawing or whatever it was, how are you going to bring that into your experience? How are you going to activate that? You're going to have napkins with you at all times so you can doodle? Are you going to join a choir or start singing? What is it? Do you need to go back to school? You need to be a therapist or a healer of some sort? I mean, what's your purpose? Any questions, comments? Does anybody want to take a stab at that before we move on?
Sure, I can.
Oh, Sonia, okay.
Yeah. For the times that I've been happiest in my life, it was actually when I was in grad school doing my NP rotations and doing the NICU too, doing both. The people have always told me that I'm good at it would be calming down the patients or when the parents are freaked out about their babies. And when I was a child, I always wanted to be a doctor, which is why I went into this line of field. So the purpose of my life would be to be a healer, acts of service, help other people heal. So I guess I'm here to bring light to the world and help people navigate when they're stressed and nervous about being in the hospital.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot in there for sure. There's a lot in there. And you know, like I said, we can have more than one purpose because we have our personal purpose as well, which is to be with ourselves and to metabolize and digest life in a way that is that works for us as well. We're not just here for others, but yeah, there's a lot in there. And so you have a personal purpose too. And I think it's worthwhile to consider that simultaneously in parallel to these questions. So for people who are of service, that you don't become irrelevant in the equation, but it's balanced. And do you feel you have that?
No, I need to balance it more towards myself instead of others.
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
And so that, until that piece isn't a balance, then sometimes it can be more difficult to activate purpose, but I think you know where you belong for sure. So bringing that personal side into balance is important for you to activate the other piece in a greater way. Make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and I'm just using you as the case study here, but assignment 6 this week, take action or intention in line with your purpose in some way. And I sort of talked you into it, but if taking care of yourself and bringing that into balance, are you on board with that? Is that something you feel you can continue to take action doing?
Yeah, I started a health program yesterday that's focusing on, you know, getting healthy, bringing back your power, and things like that. And also putting self-care as far as boundaries, kind of, you know, only responding to guys on the dating apps during certain times, not necessarily when they ding my phone, but when I feel ready and energized to respond instead of doing it out of obligation.
That's fantastic. That's perfect. That's following your own flow, your own guidance. That's perfect. Good.
Thanks.
So keeping up with that. Good. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Janice, since I no longer work as an RN, I feel my purpose is done. What the hell? So are you just, I thought you were a therapist now or a counselor. I thought you went back to school to do that too. No, that's Jackie. I'm sorry, Jackie's the one. So,
yeah. No, I have no desire to get a PhD. You know, a master's degree was quite enough for me, but it's okay. I mean, it's okay. It's not a pity thing, but I just, you know, some of us just don't have this sense of purpose. I've prayed about it and wondered about it darn near every day. So I just go to yoga. So that's as good as I can get right now.
well, it's not an achievement task here. It's really more of a connecting to self. So maybe view it in that lens and don't make it a thing that, you know, it doesn't have to be a perfect answer. But there must be some part of you that may want to express, and maybe it's yoga. Maybe that is your purpose, just like with Sonia needing to do a lot of self-care right now. Maybe that is it for now, and then something might emerge. But I would love for you to stay open to the idea that there's a way for you to activate your inner light and resonance in a different way. I mean, for all I know, given the brainiac that you are, I mean, maybe you're gonna do a book club or help people. I don't know, who knows? Maybe you're bring social community to people. I mean, who knows? But it should be fun. It should be something that you enjoy and like. It shouldn't be a chore. So don't try not to look at this exercise as a chore, but more as something to discover or get closer to on an energy level so that we can shine brightly. And you know, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Good. All right. next. Well, we already took our break. Okay, here we go. Receiving inner guidance. Some of you are already understanding through being with ourselves and honoring what is the pathway. That's the road. That's the road to just about everything, with few exception. And honoring that and being able to have a relational experience to ourselves and life based upon that. So inner guidance looks like knowing. It looks like feeling. It looks like drawn. Like Sonia gave a really good example that she no longer is jumping when her phone pings to look at the message from someone on the dating app. Her inner guidance says, no, I can just sit back, and when it's right for me, that feels much better. That's an example of inner guidance and listening to something. Inner guidance can be an awareness that just comes out of nowhere, that feels, I use the word texture a lot when I'm doing my readings, or when I'm talking about something, it has a texture. If there's, I can just, the energy is palpable on my fingertips, and that's my measurement. But we do have a sense when something feels and sits in our system and moves us. It can be an image, it can be a sound or a song, it can be so many things. But if we're paying attention and it moves us, it's very likely an inner guidance. Methods to encourage or develop awareness of inner guidance. And this actually also was suggested in the book. I liked it, so I put it in here. This letter to God or intangible community or universe, especially if we're stuck or energy isn't moving. It's like, can you help me with this thing? Can I have some information about, dear universe, God, whomever, I want to know the answer to this. I don't have a clear answer. So like, say, Elizabeth, if you're still here, I don't know if you had to go. I think you said something about you had a choice to make. So you're trying to get clarity on a situation with different romantic partners. That would be an interesting experiment to see if you write to higher consciousness, what is my answer? And write it on a piece of paper, stick it under your pillow or whatever. Just some act that you're putting it out there and waiting, and see if an answer comes, either in a dream or you're talking to someone in conversation and they say a phrase to you that goes, oh, that was an answer I'm looking for. Or for instance, I talked to you guys earlier in the process about this video I saw on TikTok where this guy, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, but they said, honor yourself first. If you have a choice between you and someone else, honor yourself first. And I thought that needs to be said in the love class again. So I took that and I brought that with me here today. And so that's me honoring inner guidance, or other ways, go inside, like so many times in this class we've done and probably will do more. I always ask you to go inside yourself, to close your eyes, to take 6 to 8 seconds to bring your energy up behind your eyes, where super ether, the clairvoyance, the most clear part of energy relationship is to physical, and sit there and see if what comes to you. And in psychic work, but it's really in life, you ask the question and wait for the answer. And when you practice these types of receiving tools, you get better at it. You start to see a lot of them, and you start to understand your own sensing system a lot better. So I'm just curious, taking the temperature, and let's do a 1 to 10. if you trust your inner guidance, and I would say I trust mine about, if I'm doing a psychic reading, I trust it about 10. I trust my inner guidance in that realm. In my life, I trust it about 9.5. Okay. So, but what's your number if you're trusting? I mean, you trust your inner guidance. Cheryl, do you have a number?
I would say, because when I was thinking about, the first thing that came up was 8.
Okay.
But I can waver sometimes between like 7 and 8, I would say.
So that's really good.
Yeah.
And are there things, and do you practice receiving
Yes.
inner guidance? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's been since longer than that, 3-4 years ago, I've been really working step by step. So it's something I work on daily.
And I would say that the mind, this brilliant thing that we hide behind, that organizes and quantifies and qualifies everything so magnificently, that's usually what gets in the way of us going with our inner guidance or some fear of some sort. So let's see. Well, everybody in this group, look at this. Holy crap. I mean, Sonia, you're 5 to 7. So, you know, you're mid-range. So, and you're working on it. And I would continue to, like the last paragraph here, it says, trust what comes to you enough to act upon it. Do what you're guided to do, whether it is through a strong inner prompting, a creative idea, a sudden insight, or an actual external sign. Because one of the things that happens is we want to act on it, but our fears, our programming, whatever stops us. But the more we act on it, even if we get it wrong or screw up and somehow, we're starting to balance out, and we need to have exercise with it. We need to have practice with it. And we all learn through trial and error. So it gets better the more risk you take with it and the more you give yourself to it. Joanne, 8, excellent. Melody, 8, yes. Mary, 7, 8, yeah. Claudia, 8, 9, way to go, good. Deja, 8. Elizabeth, 5. Stupid mind. Yeah, brilliant mind. So if you're a 5, you and Sonia, that's sort of, you have to kind of on purpose go against what your instincts are telling you if you're not really giving yourself to it, and allow yourself to stumble. If you indeed do, you probably won't, but you got to give yourself the room to try it on. So I would give yourself some very small to-dos over the week. So let's just say you had three different men who wanted to have dates with you this week, and they're all kind of equal. Rather than just saying, well, person B is more convenient, they're only 5 minutes away, person C is 30 minutes away, you can say, I'm just going to let my intuition tell me which person I'm going to see. And even if it's not the person who's most convenient, whatever, do what is against the mind and go with what the instinct is, if you can. And I think if you do that on purpose a few times, you'll get some good feedback, and it'll be easier for you to disconnect from the mind, because nothing solidifies and encourages like results. And so if you pick person C, even though they're 30 minutes away, and you have a fantastic time, I go, well, damn, I'm glad I did that. Awesome. You'll be happy. So anyhow, I just say intentionally go through some little things that don't have a huge investment in any type of loss or whatever, and practice. Bobia, awesome. When working for others, 9.5 to 10. Yeah, we're similar. Myself, 8 to 9. Yeah. Well, and you've already shared why. You know, you're scared. You're scared to trust yourself. So that's, yeah. And now 8, good. Wendy, 10, awesome. And sometimes it's minus who is talking to. Okay, awesome. Barry, depends. Are you telling me you're wearing Depends? What are you telling me, Barry?
When I'm working with somebody, it's a 9 to 10. And when I'm doing general psychic reading for myself, I really have to it takes work to get into that breath. I do it with breath work. That's an 8 or a 9. When I get to money and relationships, it seems to be 3 or lower. I don't know what ego busyness gets in that way. Obviously there is something, but so that's why it depends.
Well,
That's part of it.
those are worthwhile things to continue to unpack. Usually when it comes to readings or all of that, or judging it or thinking it needs to be something or worrying or something, that yeah. So that's okay. I mean, you have a fluid scale and you're continuing to work on yourself and your process, and yeah. But I would lean into that.